Greetings and welcome to our first Facebook Live broadcast entitled Navigate Your Next International Adventure. My name is Armando Aguirre and I will serve as your host for tonight's broadcast. We are fortunate to have several experienced individuals that will share their knowledge and perspective on the wonderful opportunities available in international scouting. Thank you for taking part of your evening to spend it with us. Please bear with us as we work through some of the technical aspects of our session. So we're all learning how to continue to do scouting in today's current environment. This presentation evolved from the Navigate Your Next International Adventure course that was scheduled to be held at the Philmont Training Center this week. As most of you know, that course had to be canceled because of the issues that we're dealing with COVID-19. This was the first year that the curriculum of the former International Representatives Conference was being revamped and open to a potentially broader audience. It was open to anyone who had an interest in international scouting opportunities and was no longer by invitation only as the previous International Representatives courses had been. With the cancellation of the course at Philmont, members of BSA's International Committee wanted to do something to continue to spread the international scouting message and renew the enthusiasm for the worldwide scouting movement that the World Scout Jamboree brought to the U.S. in the summer of 2019. Thus, the idea for this broadcast was born. This will be a very general overview of scouting around the world and the opportunities that it presents to scouts and scouters. Our presentation will last for about 60 minutes, then we will allow 30 minutes for a question and answer period. Some of you have already submitted questions, so we'll try to answer as many as possible. If a question comes up during our presentation, you can drop it in the comment section and we will try to get to as many questions as possible. Thanks again for joining us. It's an honor to have you participate in tonight's broadcast. I'd now like to turn it over to Kent Claiborne, Commissioner and Chair of BSA's International Committee.
Hello to you all, and thanks very much for joining our call this evening. I am Kent Claiborne, and I have the privilege of being the International Commissioner. And as such, I get to work with some wonderful professionals and volunteers. So a couple thank yous right out of the chute. Janine, along with Lisa's great effort, are giving terrific professional leadership to the international group. And our International Executive Committee group, Lou Paulson, Brad Veldike, and Philip Zabrowski are also providing very thoughtful and deliberate leadership to our expanding international group of volunteers. There are a lot of scouters involved with the development and the delivery of this program tonight, and I will leave it to this event group to recognize their team's effort. But a big thank you needs to go out to Armando for leading this effort. We realize this is not Philmont, but hopefully we'll whet your appetite and you'll come join us in person in Philmont next summer. The motto for the international group events right now is, quote, together in 21, unquote. So let's all be hopeful. When I started this, Megan asked me to respond to a question, why would any of you want to be on this call? And, you know, there's a number of answers to that, and it's different for each one of us, but I kind of broke it down into 3 parts. And this is kind of my take on that question. Why would you want to be there? Why would you want you here? 3 parts, a broad look, BSA on a national level, and then on a local level. First is the obvious, that you enjoy international culture and expanding your understanding of one another. But a lot closer to home is the 2019 World Jamboree effort. This is the largest international event that BSA held in 52 years. And as a member of the host team, I'm very proud of the effort and the event that we put forward. And our contingent group provided, you know, just terrific leadership and provided for a wonderful BSA international experience for the largest group of scouts from the Boy Scouts of America ever going to a World Jamboree. Many of you on this call were part of that effort at all different types of levels. And it's that desire to continue to participate in that type of thing. It exposed a very large number of BSA scouters to the environment of international scouting. They hadn't had a chance to see it work its magic on that scale with that scope and the density of the number of people and the broadness of the international groups that were involved. At the heart of it, WUSM, the international scouting programs within BSA, this is an educational and a social movement. And we're hoping to develop global citizens with a broad scope of understanding. And with that being said, it gives us a chance to educate our youth, provide an exciting outdoor experience, but continue to learn and develop and grow ourselves as adult scouters. We can learn a lot from our youth, so let's make sure that we continue to be committed to that desire to build a two-way street. Not only us delivering the program, but let's learning from them. We all are pretty much agree on a number of things. And that being said, we are developing program in and around that type of commonality. We pretty much would like to treat our planet with more respect and a more robust effort. It's our desire to develop our educational and citizenship objectives around sustainable development goals. And together, along with program activities, this can resonate with our youth and they can tell us what they want. Many of us have had a chance to enjoy a very fruitful youth scouting experience, and we're now are attempting to pass that on to an ever expanding group of global scouters, 50 million youth globally. But it also gives a chance to experience adult scouting on a different level. We want to continue to capture the feeling and the desire to be part of that movement. And so from a broad perspective, that's some of the global thoughts. On a national level, we clearly want to capture the spirit of the 2019 World Jamboree and build on that momentum. Because when that momentum is gone, it is gone, and we will in fact have lost our opportunity to expand and engage our volunteers. We want to drive our international group build out, which you're going to hear a lot more about today and will continue to hear. We want to engage volunteers to unleash their skills and efforts. But it's not enough to just say, come join us. But how, where, when, and that question, why? We must deliver at a national level opportunities to contribute to this type of BSA effort. And we do need your contribution and participation. As will be discussed, our efforts are really focused on using our volunteer channels on a local level. That's personal and digital. International representatives, ambassadors, our international group structures, and the National Commissioner Group of the Boy Scouts of America to bring international opportunities to the unit and to the scout level. MOP, exchanges, international camp opportunities, travel and camp, jamborees, youth forum, and engagement. We brought 50,000 people to the summit, and that sounds like a lot, but we engaged over 5 million digitally on our JOTA this year. There is a thirst for international opportunities, and let's figure it out together. Rick Kronk, which was a great BSA scouter and is a wonderful international scouter, has a saying, and that I want to leave you with. We are not in the business of just preserving memories. We are in the business of creating new memories for all. I want to thank you for participating, and I hope you enjoy the call this evening.
Thank you, Kent. Appreciate those words. And we'd now like to turn it over to Andy Chapman, who's Vice Chair of the World Scout Committee. So Andy.
Thanks, Armando. Appreciate the invitation to be here, and been asked to share a high-level overview with everyone about what is the World Organization of the Scout Movement, or as we call it, WOSM for short. As Armando said, I serve as one of the vice chairs on the World Scout Committee, along with other colleagues, and I'll get to that in a moment, explaining exactly what the World Scout Committee is. But I thought I'd first talk about what WASM is. What is the movement of World Scouting? How do you know that someone's a member of our World Scouting movement? It's very easy. It's the only thing on every Scout's uniform around the world that we all have in common, and that's that we all symbolize our membership in WASM by wearing the World Scout emblem, which is the purple and white crest logo that you can see in my background. If you go to the next slide, Seth, I wanted to highlight that the Boy Scouts of America is just one of 170 National Scout organizations that exist around the world. I know that myself, when I was growing up in Cub Scouting, Boy Scouting, I wasn't necessarily familiar or realized that there were so many other Scouts all around the world doing the same type of non-formal educational programs that we were doing here in the United States. That number of how many Scouts there are around the world that are members of our World Organization Scout movement is over 50 million young people, adult leaders, and volunteers. Of the over 50 million, about 3.5 million of them are adult leaders, volunteers, and other officials that support the movement, or professionals, if you will. The way we organize WASM around the world is we're divided into 6 different regions. And this circle chart here tells you how many National Scout organizations, or NSOs, are located in each of those regions. So you can see in the Africa region, we have 40 NSOs. In the Arab region, we have 19. In Asia Pacific, we have 28. In Eurasia, we have 9. In the European region, we have 40. And in the Inter-America region, we have 34. And the Inter-America region is where the Boy Scouts of America resides. So if you go to the next slide, kind of gives you a geographical view of what I just discussed on the 6 regions. So you can see on the left side, I mentioned the Inter-America region there in orange, which is headquartered in Panama City in Panama. Then you can see the Africa Support Center is located in Kenya. The Arab Support Center is located in Cairo, Egypt. The European Support Center is located in Geneva, Switzerland, and Brussels, Belgium. The Eurasia Support Center is in Kiev, Ukraine, and the Asia Pacific Support Center is located in the Philippines. And I wanted to mention, in those offices we have those 6 offices plus the world headquarters that is located in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. We have approximately 140 World Scout Bureau staff across all of those support centers that I just mentioned. Some other interesting data points that we collect globally about what Scouts are doing. Between 2017 and 2018, we had over 360 million community service hours recorded through our online portal from Scouts all around the world. We had 1.2 billion community service hours just since the year 2013. And that's just what we're capturing online. We know there's so much more that's happening out there. And another really interesting data point that I think hits home to the Boy Scouts of America is that 95% of the National Scout organizations around the world are open to both boys and girls. I know that Boy Scouts of America has gone through some of these membership changes as well. So I think it's important to point out that we're part of a global movement of co-education there. If you go to the next slide, I wanted to highlight what does the World Scout Committee mean, and what is the governing bodies of WASM. So the supreme governing body of WASM is what's called the World Scout Conference. It's typically held every 3 years at different locations around the world, and it's made up of all 170 National Scout organizations who each send representatives to this World Conference. For the first time in a very long time, unfortunately, we had to delay the World Scout Conference for an additional year. So it was scheduled to be this summer in Egypt in actually a few months, but we're going to be postponing it another year due to the COVID-19. Things that the World Scout Conference does when they convene, they pass resolutions, constitutional amendments. They also elect the World Scout Committee that I serve on, which is basically the executive body or the board that executes the will of the World Scout Conference in between its meetings every 3 years. So when we were at the 2017 World Scout Conference in Baku, Azerbaijan, that's in this picture here, BSA put me forth as a candidate for election, and I was honored to be elected by these 170 countries to serve on the World Scout Committee. Next picture shows you my colleagues that were also elected. I mentioned there's 12 of us that are elected every 3 years to the World Scout Committee. I won't go through all the names, but just showing you the geographical representation going left to right. We have our chair, Craig, from Scotland. Then we have Belgium, Australia, Sri Lanka, Ghana, Tunisia, Azerbaijan, Spain. You see myself there in red, and Costa Rica, Lebanon, and Denmark. So we have a really strong, diverse, great group of elected board members that have the privilege of serving with on the World Scout Committee. If you go to the next slide, we also have additional members. In addition to the 12 of us who are elected, we also have other members that serve on the World Scout Committee. You'll see in the front row there, the World Scout Youth Forum, which happens right before the World Scout Conference. They elect 6 youth advisors who also serve on the World Scout Committee with us. Diana from Mexico is the bottom left. You'll be hearing a little bit more from her later, but just showing more geographic representation. Keep going left to right from Diana. We have Tunisia, Hong Kong, Liechtenstein, Kenya, and Sweden. And then in the background, we also have my fellow board members and additional ex officio members, which are the region chairs of those 6 regions that I had mentioned earlier. Like I said, we were expecting to have our election term end just in a few months at the World Scout Conference. And part of what we do in between World Scout conferences is execute a strategy that the World Scout Conference develops for us to execute. So what we've been doing the last few months is first implementing an emergency 100-day plan for the World Scout movement. And we're hoping, I think by the end of this month, if not early July, we're gonna unveil our bridged strategy to get us through this extra year term that we were not expecting due to the COVID-19 delays. So that's a high level overview of the World Organization of the Scout Movement and also of the World Scout Committee. So with that, I will turn it back over to Armando.
All right. Thanks, Andy. Appreciate some of your insights, and thank you for everything you're doing on the World Scout Committee. Andy's got a wonderful reputation as doing an awesome job, and we're very proud of the work he's doing at the world level. One of the great things about being involved in international scouting is that you get to meet people that you develop great friendships with. And so I'd like to introduce somebody that I've consider a great friend. Now he's serves as a member of the Inter-American Scout Committee, and that's Enzo De Felipe from Peru. So Enzo, take it away.
Thank you, Armando. Thank you, everyone that is here. I'm very pleased to be with you tonight. I'm Enzo De Felipe. I am from Peru. I am currently in Peru broadcasting this. And I've been asked to talk to you about the Inter-American region. Next, please. As Andy said, the WASON is divided into 6 regions. The region that Peru and the United States are in is the Inter-American region. We have 34 national scouts organizations belonging to this region, and I serve as a member of the Inter-American Scout Committee. Next, please. But first, I'm going to tell you something about it. I started like most kids in this world, started scouting at a very young age with my troop. We had a lot of fun, and then I grew up, and then I became a scouter. First was involved with a pack of Cap Scouts. Then I was scoutmaster of my troop, and then I was the coordinator of a clan of robbers, which is a branch you don't have in the US, but it's pretty much like venturing, and it's as fun as venturing. Next, please. After I grew up, I started to attend in certain international events, like the one we are going to talk about. And first, I started in a jamboree, in Inter-American Jamboree in Bolivia. And then I attended this wonderful program in the US. It's the International Camp Staff Program. So I got the chance to stay there for a whole summer. well, I stay within with a council in Illinois, and that experience changed my life, and probably I am here because of that. Later on, I did some other things with my life, and then I came back to scouting, and I attended a couple of wonderful experience and World Jamborees in Chile, in the UK, and I got a chance to attend this wonderful event that was last year's World Jamboree in West Virginia, and I got the opportunity to go with my son. So that's why I'm here in scouting. Next, please, Reese. So, what do we do in the at the Inter-American region? Well, our role is to support this 34 national scout organizations. What I mean by support, next, please. As Andy said, the WASOM implements its strategy through a plan, and we at the region implement that plan through a regional plan. So the most important thing we do at the region is we formulate this regional plan and try to reach the objectives that were set at the world level. Next, please. Well, some other things we do is we formulate regional policies. For example, diversity and inclusion, regional network, which is how scouters from different NSOs, National Scouts organizations, can work together. We make recommendations about how to organize the national scout organizations and how to implement certain programs. For example, the program regarding adults or youth programs. You know? Next, please. And we also provide some other kind of support. For example, guidelines towards how to do scouting in a pandemic like this we are still living, and how to keep scouting active from home. Next, please. And we also do fun things like organizing these regional events that hopefully you will attend pretty soon. These are the logos of some previous events we had. There are two main events. One is JAMCAM, Jamboree Camporee, and the other is our Inter-American Moot. JAMCAMs are events for youth, and moods for young adults. My friends Megan and Reese will tell you everything about what you need to know to attend one of these events. That next, please, Reese. The next events are JAMCAM in 2024 in West Virginia, and Inter-American Moot in the southern part of the Americas in Argentina. Next, please. The committee that I'm involved is elected in the Inter-American Conference for a period of 3 years. And we are called to lead the Inter-American Scout region. And we do it with a lot of responsibility. And next, please. And of course, we do it with a lot of fun, because there wouldn't be scouting without fun. And that's what I wanted to share with you. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Enzo. Appreciate your insights and your thoughts on the Inter-American region. I'd now like to turn it over to AJ Chandra. Besides being a member of BSA's International Committee, AJ also serves as a treasurer for the Inter-American region. So AJ, take it away.
Thank you very much, Armando. And we're certainly glad that all of you are being able to attend this. The beauty of this entire process is that hopefully we'll get out and be able to reach a lot more folks than maybe would have been coming to the Philmont conference. We, of course, are very disappointed that we're not having the Philmont conference, but I think this way you're going to get a exposure to some of the things, and we're going to actually be able to have a lot of other people come in and talk about some of these activities. So the beauty of this is Kent kind of told you a little bit about how BSA fits into the the World Organization. You've now heard from Enzo and from other folks in terms of talking about the World Organization and the events and everything that go on. And so I want to use this section. We want to be able to talk to you guys about, how is it that scouts and units can actually be involved in the activities, and what activities are there out there. But I know you don't want to hear a lot from me. The great thing is we've got some great presenters here. Some of the folks that have actually gone out to a lot of these activities, been involved in a lot of these activities from both an organizational aspect and getting everything else. So we're going to turn it over to a few other folks to let them talk about it. And so I'm going to be able to introduce Diana, Seth, and Megan. They'll be actually walking through the various things. So at this point, I'd like to turn it over to Diana so she can start talking about Jyoti and Jyotai and give you guys an idea about how you individually can actually be involved in that. So Diana.
Thank you. Thank you so much for letting me help you here. Let me first introduce myself. Andy already introduced me in a picture. I'm one of the 6 global youth advisors to the World Scout Committee. I am in Mexico. I live here. So it's an honor to be helping to the Boy Scouts of America, an organization that I have a lot of appreciation because of every experience that we've been sharing with a lot of colleagues that I see here in the call. And now talking about, I'm gonna take back some words from Kent Claiborne and say that scouting is about fun. Scouting is about letting young people develop their fullest potential and have these life-changing experiences. And they can also do this through international scouting. So Jyotai is the Jamboree on the air and the Jamboree on the internet, whether by radio or the internet. I think right now it's more popular to have things by internet. This event allows young people from all the 170 National Scout organizations to join and connect over a course of 1 weekend and learn about each other's perspectives on how scouting works around in their countries, in their local context, make friends, have fun, learn about different topics that they have interest on. And also, most importantly, from an educational aspect, we promote educational components like digital citizenship that right now it's so relevant. So approximately in this event, we gather 2 million young people from 170 countries. So this makes it the largest jamboree and the largest world event in scouting. So if the jamboree, like the physical jamboree that we had in West Virginia last year, gathered 50,000 people, this is 2 million. And in April this year, because of COVID-19, we launched a special edition. And this Jyotai joined around 5 million young people over a course of 1 weekend. They showed different talents and we had lives and a lot of fun. So this is one way that units and scouters also can get engaged online and through radio, if we have radio amateurs here. The normal weekend that we have this event annually is the 3rd week of October. So if you missed the last special edition on April, you can, from right now, turn it on a notification in your calendar so you don't miss the one in October. Can we go to the next one, please? Another way that you can start your international journey is to explore the campaign that we have, the Hub Scouts for SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, which are a plan set for all the world on how we can create better and sustainable communities. But we want, through this campaign, to inspire scouts to take action locally. And I'm sure units are already doing a lot of service projects. So this is just another tool to help scouts strengthen their knowledge and increase their capacities, and also make the connection on what my project is contributing to. So this is also an online hub that they can explore, and you can start learning about whatever goals that you want because of the color that it may catch your attention or because of the topic. This is just an online tool that you can explore also online. Can we go to the next one, please? And also, I think this is one of the most popular programs in BSA, Messengers of Peace, which is not a national program, but also a global program that we share. We also have it here in Mexico and in a lot of countries. And this global initiative's aim is to inspire young people to create and motivate a culture of peace in their communities. And this is not only about not having war, but this is actually educating young people to connect peace to different parts of their surroundings. So peace has to do also with environment, and peace has to do with my community service project. And this is a way to get recognition also for all the service hours and community projects that we're doing at the local level. And just for you to know that this is also a global initiative. And there are other several global programs that I'm sure later you can start learning about, but this is one of the most popular ones. Over to Seth, I think.
Or we
Actually, I think it's me. Hi,
Oh,
everyone.
Megan.
Gracias, Diana. So my name is Megan Pearson. I am a member of the BSA International Committee, and I'm going to be sharing with you an opportunity for international adventure right in your own backyard. The 2021 BSA National Jamboree will be bringing in elements from the World Scout Jamboree that we hosted in the summit back last summer in 2019. And so we're expecting thousands of international scouts to join us at our own national jamboree. We will be having an international day. If any of you attended World Jam, you would remember that day of cultural sharing. So we're hoping to bring that into our own national event. And then the hub for all this will be the international exhibit, which is a tent in the Summit Center. So we're excited about bringing that international fun right to our own backyards at the National Jamboree. And there are ways to both be on staff and involved with specifically the international events, but then also just any participant and staff at the National Jamboree will be able to experience this hopefully next summer. And I think now I'm passing it on to Seth.
Thank you, Megan. Howdy, everyone. So my name is Seth Griffith, and I'm going to briefly discuss an international activity called the Jam Cam. So this event is an Inter-American Region Jam Cam. And what exactly is that? This means scouts and leaders from all over North, Central, and South America and the Caribbean are invited to participate in a big week-long jamboree and camporee. So hence the name Jam Cam. Think of it kind of like a council camporee, but much bigger. So Jam Cam is open to scouts ages 11 through 17 years old. And what really makes it so cool in this opportunity? Well, my top 3 reasons would definitely be, while it's pretty similar to those big scouting events, just like the National Jamboree or the World Scout Jamboree, Jam Cams are especially cool in how they're focused specifically on the Americas. So again, North, Central, South America, and the Caribbean, to be exact. And it gives those scouts the chance to make friends in a fun environment with activities that are designed just for them. And this gives those scouts that are 11 through 17 that chance to learn what exactly it means to be an international citizen, how to work, camp, dance, learn, and even celebrate together. So just like on the screen, the hosts of Jam Cam 2020 were the Brazilian Scout Association. The BSA International Department committed to providing those resources and sent a contingent from the BSA. And now every good party needs a host. And for the next Jam Cam, BSA has the honor to fill that role. So maybe your next totally awesome adventure in international scouting can be right in our backyard at the Summit Bechtel Reserve in 2024. So I'm going to hand it over to you again, Diana.
Thanks, Seth. And another opportunity to experience international scouting, of course, is one of the most popular ones, is the World Scout Jamboree. And I'm not an etymologist, but I do know that jamboree, the word jamboree comes from gathering. So it means that it's a gathering from scouts all over the world. And this event was initiated in 1920. And since then, they've been held every 4 years all around the world. And as you might know, and I'm sure you know, last year we held it in North America by Scouts Mexico, Scouts Canada, and the BSA in the Summit Bechtel Reserve. And we gathered 50,000 scouts from all over the world. And this event especially is a once in a lifetime opportunity for young people aged between 14 to 17 years old. There's only one chance in your life that you are going to go as a participant, and it's an incredible experience. This is actually how my international scouting experience all started back in 2011 in the Jamboree in Sweden. And since then, the next one, I think it was in Japan, and then it was North America, and the next one in 2023 is going to be in South Korea. So we are 3 years away from that. So I know the situation right now is not the best one, but you can start definitely saving some money to be ready to go and experience this opportunity, whether as a unit leader or also as an international service team member, which is also another unique opportunity to gather from young adults and adults from all over the world.
Thank you, Diana. Just like Diana, my first international experience was at the World Scout Jamboree in Sweden, and it was an honor to then get to help plan the World Scout Jamboree last summer with Diana. So it's incredible the relationships you can build in the world of World Scouting and the friends that you can find in every corner of the world. So the next event that we wanted to share about are rover moots. So you heard a little bit about the moot and the concept from Enzo and from Andy. So rovers, a program that many other NSOs have, are for the 18 to about 25-year-old scouts. And these scouts from all over the world can gather at events called moots. Moot is again, another etymology instance. It comes from debate, gathering, discussion. And so the idea is that these older scouts can come together and share cultures and really talk about some global considerations. Moots are structured a little differently than jamborees. They have both trail and base camps. So the base camp will look very similar to the jamboree structure, camping all together. Whereas trail camps, it's the beginning of a moot, and patrols are formed internationally, so grouped together, people from all over the world, and then they're located and spread out across the country or region that is hosting the event, and they're getting to explore the area, either the city or the country, and getting to know and live in an international patrol. And then the end, everyone comes together in the base camp and gets to celebrate their time at the moot and get to know everyone that of the different patrols. So it's a very social, fun event to participate in. The next two upcoming are in Argentina. Enzo mentioned this one earlier. And then the Irish World Scout Moot that has been moved. It was originally 2021. It's now in 2022. I happen to know for that one, yes, you're spread all across Ireland, and then the base camp will be in outside Dublin. So really an incredible opportunity to be involved in scouting past that 18 and still get to be a participant and make friends from all over the world. And our next slide, Seth, can you take us on? So all of the events that you've heard of so far are events that the BSA will organize a contingent to. And so that means you're going as a group. It's usually a larger event, the kinds of things that we organize contingents to. And if you're interested in finding out what kinds of events would be a BSA delegation, you can go to scouting.org/international/events and see, and also register through the BSA to go with the contingent. An upcoming event that we haven't mentioned so far with the BSA contingent is the European Jamboree. It's in Poland. It's been moved till next summer, and I've heard incredible things about the Polish Jamboree. So this is another event. If you've always wanted to go to Poland, or you have a scout that does, to join this great merriment. And there's a lot of unity in the European region. We've already talked about quite a few inter-American region events, but European region, whole different cultures to get to explore. So another great event. Yeah, next slide, Seth. And if any of these events that we already heard about, the going to the delegation, and you hear about an event that the BSA is not organizing a contingent to, whether it be a smaller event or just something that isn't in our plan, we encourage you to plan your own international adventure. So you can check out what other world events are happening at it's a WASM website, so www.scout.org/events, and it lists all the events that are going on throughout the world. And so, for example, the Scottish National Jamboree, it's every other year. I was in the process of organizing a trip for my own council to take some youth there. So it's possible to either go as staff to these kinds of events, or to organize trips and to these events if it's not something that the BSA is putting forth a large delegation. And Janine Haverton will cover more about that later on in our presentation this evening. Take it away, Seth.
Thank you, Megan. All right, so next I'm going to introduce you to Kandersteg International Scout Center. So this is definitely a should be on your international scouting experience bucket list. So it's not complete without a visit to the center, which is the permanent mini jamboree and the dream of Lord Baden-Powell. So Kandersteg International Scout Center is in Switzerland and in a beautiful and breathtaking alpine setting. It's open year-round and has visitors from numerous countries and continents. So what can you expect from Kandersteg? Well, one big thing is many memories and many new friends for life. There's individuals from all over around the world that come, and they will definitely be your new friends for life. There's, again, the breathtaking alpine scenery in the Swiss mountains, and hardworking, helpful, and a highly motivated international team of volunteer staff that they have on site. And not to mention that you can participate in over 200 different activities, and visitors can either attend as a stateside based or individual or family. If you want somewhere to stay, a place that has that constant scouting theme, then this is the place where you definitely need to try out. So again, there are plenty of opportunities that you want to experience in your international scouting daily and year-round in the international setting with scouts from all over the world. Then this place is definitely should be on your list to make plans soon in the near future. All right, next, I'm going to talk a little bit about international awards. So there's two wonderful opportunities in earning international awards. The first on the left, which is the International Spirit Award, it can be awarded to those registered scouts and scouters. And these individuals are the ones who seek to broaden your knowledge of international scouting and increase that appreciation and awareness of different cultures and countries throughout our scouting world. So this award can be perfect for your units to plan for fun activities that also fulfill requirements within the award. And additionally, the International Scouters Award encourages scouters to broaden their involvement through participation in world-level activities and recognizes those scouters for their contributions to world-level scouting. So some of the requirements in these would include like serving on an international staff at a National Scout Jamboree, or serving on an international service staff at a World Scout Jamboree, and attending an international scout conference hosted by the International Department. And the best part about these awards is that in order to fulfill them, you must share what you've learned with others in your own council, so you're able to spread the scouting world movement. So both awards are a great way to increase your international scouting knowledge, appreciation, and awareness. Back to you, Mr. Armando.
All right, thank you, Seth. Now we're going to talk a little bit about the opportunities for young adults. So we'll have a couple of our young adults talk about that. So Reese and Megan, take it away.
Aloha, everyone. My name is Reese Kobe, and I am one of the wonderful young adults on the International Committee. There are so many of us, and we're really enthusiastic about international scouting. So if we would go to the very first slide, we're going to talk about some opportunities for young adults and define what a young adult is. So the word youth in scouting refers to all of the boys and girls involved in the educational program within the movement, right? And different national scouting organizations have different ages for the youth programs. Here in the Boy Scouts of America, our youth program ends at the age of 21. Some national scouting organizations, or NSOs for short, end their programs at 26. And the word youth is kind of a generic word, whereas we use the term young people when we refer to all members of an organization. So in reference to WASM and World Scouting, youth program ends at 26. And international scouting events and programs are a great way to stay involved with scouting, even as a young adult. Be involved. Seek out your council's international representative to discuss things like international events you can attend, educational programs and initiatives that you can be involved in, and really be involved within international scouting. Bring your friends and talk to your friends and organize a trip to places like Condorsteg, next World Scout Jamborees, these regional moots, and navigate your next international adventure. Seth, next slide. We're going to really quickly talk about what a youth forum is. It's kind of like a decision-making body in the youth arena. The World Scout Youth Forum provides an opportunity for young people and members of the World Scouting to discuss and express their views on different issues. And many participants are also delegates to the World Scout Conference. Through preparing inputs and making recommendations to the World Scout Conference and the World Scout Committee, participants develop their skills necessary to take part in these decision-making bodies. The World Scout Youth Forum is considered to be an interim measure, so it's there to improve youth involvement and decision-making at the world level. So each national scouting organization will send their delegates to this youth forum, and the delegates are anywhere from 18 to 26 years old. And the youth forum usually takes place every 3 years in conjunction with the World Scout Conference. And this forum, the first one took place in 1971 in Japan, and the next World Scout Youth Forum is scheduled to be in Egypt. Some of the speakers tonight are actually delegates to this next World Scout Youth Forum, including Megan and myself and Seth. And we will be hopefully going to Egypt sometime to represent the Boy Scouts of America. In addition, there are regional youth forums. So the Inter-American region has a youth forum. Here in the slide are some pictures from the past one. The past one was in Panama, and the conference follows that. So stay involved in international scouting. You can be involved in international scouting from a Cub Scout all the way up until you're really old. Megan?
Thanks, Reese. So, and Reese already alluded to some of this, but what are some events that these young adults can get involved in? So we mentioned the moots, so that's the 18 to 26-year-old range, but then there's also great opportunities for these young people to be on staff at a myriad of events. So coming to the National Jamboree and being a liaison with the international contingents that are coming, also going to a World Scout Jamboree, the next one in Korea. It is a great opportunity to work alongside people from all over the world and get to know them and camp right next to them. Lots of fun. And then also, as Seth mentioned, going to Condorcet, you can also be a Pinky, which is the name for the staff of the International Scout Center. In addition, there are exchange events. Enzo mentioned how he had gone to the US to be a camp staffer. Well, there's also a program for young people to go to Europe to do an staff exchange there as well. So you can find out more information about that on our website. And then third, wanted to note this, Reese had already alluded to this, the involvement opportunities at the council and unit level to help bring international scouting to the scouts on the ground. So we empower young people and young adults to get involved, talk to their international representative, or even be their international representative if they find that is a gap in their council, help advocate for those programs. As I mentioned earlier, I had the opportunity to help lead, or it was supposed to be this summer, but then coronavirus happened. Actually a contingent, be a head of contingent for a council group to an international event. So there's all kinds of opportunities that young adults can get exposure to being a leader in the international realm. And these are some of them. So get involved, and like Reese said, check it out.
Okay, thank you, Megan. Got a lot of great information. Now we're going to talk a little bit about, you know, a trip abroad. So probably a lot of you are interested in maybe taking your scouting unit across outside of the U.S. So Dave Shelburne is the international rep for the Sam Houston Area Council, and he's also an ambassador for BSA's international. He's one of the ambassadors. So Dave going to talk a little bit about preparing for a trip abroad. So Dave, take it away.
Thank you, Armando. There's already a question up. I was going to ask Seth if he could go to scouting.org/international and put this on here, as if that's possible. One of the questions was, how can I find out who my IR is, my international rep? And if you go to scouting.org/international, you will see a page there that will, it says Council International Representative. And if you click on that, it'll say, it has a deal right at the top, says to find out my international representative, click here, and it'll give you a box that you put your council name in, and it will give you your representative and also give you an opportunity to contact them. One thing about traveling abroad that I found helps considerably is the International Letter of Introduction. This is something I believe that all units should have. It does a number of things. One of the things is that it establishes you as an official traveling unit of the Boy Scouts of America. And it works well when going across borders. And if you're actually have enough time in the front end and get this, and also when you get it back, it will have contact information and the NSO that you're going to travel to. And the contact number will be a general one probably, but once you contact them, they can help you narrow it down. And really, it can be really helpful on everything from the money, the customs, what good deals are, things like that. Traveling across borders, this document also establishes you as an official unit, and I found that being HOC head of contingent on several trips, that it really helps you when you cross borders. It establishes your group as a solid group. We've had a lot of talk about Kondersteg, and I would agree with everyone who's spoken about Kondersteg, the International Scout Center there. An excellent deal. We worked with groups going there for years. One of the things that I used to say that I'd like to officially change here is I used to tell everyone going to Kondersteg to make sure you make your reservations 1 year out. I want to change that to 2 years out. We've had our last few units, it's been really difficult to get what we need. The YPT rules, BSA, for us, the Kinder Lodge works the best because of the makeup of the rooms and that sort of thing. So if you're going to KISK, I would definitely advise that you make those reservations at least 2 years out, because if not, you're going to have, you can do it. There's nothing wrong with the chalets. I love them, but they're not set up to meet our YPT requirements. So would definitely look at those. As far as generally traveling abroad, it depends on what you, if you're traveling as a family group or as a larger scout group. I would recommend that if you're traveling as a larger scout group, you keep the unit fairly efficient, small, and don't try to. You see some folks go with 30 or 40, and that's wonderful if you can pull it off. But logistics will eat you up over time, and the leadership will have a lot more fun, and it'll be a lot more fun for the youth if that's the case. If you go with a smaller unit, keep it around 10 to somewhere between 10 to 20 would be the max to do that. I would love to answer questions from our audience. I don't know if we are capable of doing that. I didn't prepare much because I'm a hands-on guy. I've like I said, been head of contingent several times, and I have a lot of information. But I would like to, when it's time to answer and ask questions, I would like to participate in that and really give you a lot more information. I think that'd be more pertinent than we can do in 6 or 8 minutes right here. Okay, so that's what I have, Armando. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Dave. Yeah, there is a lot to traveling abroad, especially when you're taking youth that are under the age of 18. So there's a lot to it. So it's a lot of information to cover that, and we might spend another session in upcoming months just covering some more details on that. But for now, thanks, Dave. Appreciate it. Now we'll go to Janine Halverson, who's the Director of BSA's International Department. And Janine's going to fill us in on some of the requirements that are needed when you do travel abroad, or some of the paperwork that's needed when you're participating in any international events. So Janine.
Hi, thanks, Armando. Yes, and first thing I want to thank the fabulous volunteers that we have working on our international committee. Along with Kent, we have Lou Paulson and Brad Van Dyke and Philip Zabriskie, as well as Armando and AJ, who really wanted to bring this information to you at PTC, but it's turned into this event. But the passion that all of them have, that they bring, I think you've already seen some of that here, and that their leadership has just really helped us continue when we haven't been able to all get together. I also do want to say I'm so thankful. I see so many friends on the event, BSA friends that have been joining in these fun international things that we love to share with you. And I see Inter-American Region folks, Scouts Australia and WISM, and I want to thank all of you guys for being here. I get to talk to you about kind of some of the rules, the guidelines, and it's not always the most fun, but it's one we get lots of questions about, and we want to help you to be more aware so that you don't hit any of these kind of red flags when you're trying to bring your units on trips. The biggest one we get asked about a lot is home hosting. Now, home hosting is not an official scouting event, so that would mean that anyone's home that you stayed in, the liability for anything that would happen at their home would be on the homeowner. So we try to tell everyone this information. The challenges are, say even a unit from Texas wants to go to Philmont. Well, let's just stay over at our friends in Albuquerque. Well, the challenges is that homeowner may not know that they're responsible for anything that may happen there. And so what we encourage you is to reach out to council camps and to see they have facilities available for groups to be able to go, and those are officially approved by the BSA. So that's where we encourage you to do that. I'll talk a little bit more about social media and the effects of these kinds of stays. The other interesting one that we get, and it's Michigan International Camp Bree is like the example that comes to mind first is on councils want to host an international camp. Hey, I went to the World Scout Jamboree last year. I met all these great people. Our council could support something like this. It would be really fun. And so what we can do in the international department to help you with that is first the official invitations. So as Megan told you earlier about that, the events list, the WISM events list, so we can work with you to get your event on that list. And then it will be verified by the NSO, and you'll be able to have that validation already. The place that you're going to look for events, other NSOs are looking in the United States to see if there's some events. And then also when you're having an event, our biggest thing I would like to share with you tonight is verifications. So you're having an event in your council with some people that you met maybe online. So I'm giving you a little bit of that, a peek into that online part. The challenge is that just because someone says they're a scout doesn't mean that they're part of WISM or approved by their National Scout organization. And what we would like to do to keep our youth safe and to keep our councils in a good place is to say, hey, let us reach out to our friends at this particular Scout Association, and we'll verify that they've actually are registered and approved by their Scout Association. And then we would believe that that would be a better experience for everyone at your event. And then the last one's always insurance. So as an individual unit going to events, that's something that you would have to work out with your council on your insurance. When you come with us to a national contingent, the contingent we'll bring to Poland, the contingent to the World Scout Moot, insurance for BSA members on those events is part of the registration. And so we provide that for you. In addition, if you're having a council camporee with internationals, you would want to communicate with them. Are you either you're going to purchase insurance for them, or you're going to ask them to have insurance and provide proof of that insurance upon arrival. And so these aren't the most fun things to talk about, but they're very important, mainly for the safety of our youth. We've heard some stories when people call, and we want to kind of protect you from that. Hey, I invited someone to my house, and I thought they'd stay the weekend, but they were planning to stay 6 months. So again, you need to be able to communicate with them what your intentions are, and then we would love to help you verify those folks. If you're thinking about traveling to an international event. Now, as Megan also mentioned, we have these events that we're not sending a national contingent. There is no longer there were forms that were completed, tour permits years ago, but those have been removed. And so it's our suggestion that you inform your chartered organization, your council leadership, and even your council IR. You might be able to come back from an event that you went to and say, hey, I want to turn this into the international folks and see if I can't get this in another blog that they put out, because we want to just keep taking all the energy and passion that you all have and bring that to everyone else in the BSA who's not on this call and doesn't know about all these amazing things that they could be doing. And I guess the last one is I would ask for your diplomacy. There's a lot of folks that have not traveled internationally, and sometimes when BSA members travel, they may not give the best impression of our NSO and our country. And so that's what we would ask you to maybe include, kind of a cultural training for your youth before you take them overseas, so that they can have a little bit better understanding about what it's going to be like when they're somewhere that everything isn't the way that they're used to things being. And I think, Armando, those are my main topics that are the ones no one else wants to talk about. And if we can move on to questions, and then I guess we'll pop in and out as needed. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Janine. Appreciate it. It's always good to get your perspective on things, just from being from the professional side. It's always very helpful. We've had several questions come in, and we're going to try to hit some of them because we want to try to cut this off at the top of the hour because we don't want to, we want to be respectful of everybody's time. But one of the questions we were talking about Conderstag or traveling international, and one of the questions we had was, what is the recommended number of adults to scout for international trips? And this is just my 2 cents worth, is that a lot of it depends on the age group that you're taking. When you're taking a group out of the US, if they're under the age of 18, it's a totally different dynamics and totally different situation that you have to deal with. So I think the answer to that question would depend on the age of the group that you're taking. So there are some kind of guidelines on youth to adult ratio, but I think when you're traveling abroad, you might need to look at the maturity of the group as well as the age of the group.
Agreed.
One of the other questions that we had, let's see, if you hang on a second, says, how does my venture crew get added to a list of units willing to host visiting international scouting units when they are in our area? So Janine, do you want to answer that?
Sure, Armando. So we don't have like a list of people that could do that. That could be something that we would do in the future. Again, that would be your unit would host them at a council camp. And so that's something that we could think about creating or having some sort of an online way to do that. It is not currently one that we have in place.
Okay, thank you, Janine. Here's another question. What can we do at a troop level to help our scouts and families learn about international scouting? Reese, do you want to take that question?
Sure thing. So at a troop level, you can visit any one of our websites or social media. There are tons of resources on both of things you can do to do with your troop and unit. So you can actually do a presentation to your unit or at a roundtable and get credit for an award, one of our International Spirit Awards or the International Scouters Award. So feel free to check out the website. I'll actually put that in the comments below. And that would be my recommendation. Janine, anything else to add? Nope. Okay, back to you, Armando.
Okay.
Can I add a quick comment to the last question that Janine just answered about the list? When you saw it said to my area, I would highly recommend that if you are in a unit that is interested in hosting, that you talk to your IR rather than the international committee trying to match people, because it could be anywhere in the country that they're coming. If you talk to your IR, they can, if they're made aware of people coming, and that's who would be contacted if they were coming to that area, you would be able to be on that list. As someone who's in Houston, we do get contacted to host, and if you had already made your unit interest, told your IR, they would be able to facilitate that a lot easier. So that's who you should use as your point of contact. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Reese and Megan. We had another question. What safety precautions are taking place to prevent a COVID outbreak at an event? And for one, and I'll give you my 2 cents worth, and then Janine, you can jump in. But as of now, I think most of WASM and regional events are either canceled or postponed until we can get further guidance on where all of this is going. So, so it's very difficult to quote unquote prevent an outbreak, but there are a lot of steps being taken to help minimize the spread. And a big part of it was just the cancellation of some of these events. So a lot of these events worldwide are being postponed a year, and then in a year we'll see what the situation is and make a decision at that time. So Janine, you had some comments on what BSA's outdoor program team is doing?
Sure. Yeah. Thanks, Armando. Yeah, the outdoor program team's taking the lead, and they've working with our councils on program area COVID-19 specific considerations. And I can ask Reese to put in the chat the link to the fact sheet, because it has multiple areas of concern about traveling, about all sorts of different aspects that not just specifically preventing an outbreak, but all of the new elements that our world's changed. And this is the things that we need to now take into consideration. That would be the best place. That's the real official. So the international department isn't the specific group that speaks on that, but we are given those tools to be able to share with people.
And
Okay.
Janine, this is Brad Valdyke. That address is inside BSA. Well, one of the documents that Enzo showed when he was talking about the Inter-America region was a COVID-19 response plan. So that's also where, when traveling abroad, our WASM partnership, both the regions and the World Bureau, also advises other NSOs how to protect themselves, as well as those NSO assets or the national response within those countries. So our WASM affiliation does provide a larger umbrella when traveling to a non-BSA event on the international stage.
Okay, thank you, Janine and Brad. Here's a question about international camp staff opportunities. And how can local council welcome international scouts as staffers, and how can U.S. Scouts go staff summer camp internationally? So we'll take that one at a time about international camp staff opportunities. Lisa, would you like to take that?
Sure, I'd be happy to. So the International Camp Staff Program, as you guys can imagine, this year has been very difficult. We're still trying in certain areas, but by and large, it's really hard this year. But for 2021, what would be good is to let your council know that you would love to have an international camp staffer at your camp for the summer on our website. And you'll hear that a lot because we try to put all of our information on our website, scouting.org/international. There is an area both for the counselors, scouting.org/international/iCamp, so they can find information for themselves about how to apply. And then there's information there also for the local councils. And so usually we try to have applications out around October. So please keep an eye on our website in the fall. And again, that's both for councils and internationals. And I will also take the other side of that, Armando. So a lot of people want to know, how can BSA members go overseas and work at a camp? So it's a little different. Internationals that work here in the United States, they're here on a special J1 camp counselor visa, and they are earning a salary. That's rules and regulations for them to come here, but it's kind of different. So when and the 18 to 30 is the age range. And so when they go to Europe, as Megan had mentioned, that opportunity, so Condorstag, Gilwell in the UK, there's a lot of different options. But when you go there, you're volunteering your time. They will provide room and board. Some camps may provide stipends. There's a lot, so you want to go on our website again, scouting.org/international/ecamp. So eCamp for European Scout Voluntary Program. And you can find out information there, and it has a link to all the different camps that are available in Europe. So yeah, those are your answers.
Okay, thank you, Lisa. I appreciate the information on that. We have another question, and it says, my daughter is a senior Webelos. She already has her World Conservation Award, Messengers of Peace, and her paperwork is in the mail for the International Spirit Award. What other activities are available to her while still a cub to continue her involvement in international scouting? So Megan or Seth, would you guys like to take that? I think we talked about Joda and Jodai earlier. Is there anything else that you think somebody at a senior Webelos level could participate in?
I would like to point out and remind about what Deanna spoke about earlier with Scouts for SDGs and Messengers of Peace. These are all, and as you said, Joda and Jodai, these are all free programs. They're cheap, they're easy, they're online, and they're great ways to engage with Scouts around the world, and then also be doing service for your community, either locally, nationally, globally. The options are endless. In addition, we talked about the events. If events are within the budget or available to your Scout, we have the events we talked about globally, but then also quite a few international events such as JamCam that are coming up in our own country. So a wide breadth of financial opportunity or types of activities that can get you involved in international scouting.
Okay, great, Megan. And one thing for those of you who are out there in the audience who are at that cub age level or in the early scouting age, like in the 11 or 12-year-olds, remember that some of these events, like the World Scout Jamboree and some of the events are 2, 3, 4 years out. So they might take a lot of planning. So now is a time to look to the future, look, 2, 3, 4 years down the road and see what ages your Scouts might be and what opportunities might be out there for them. So it's something that can keep some activities out there, whether it be jam cams or world jamborees or moots. It's like the jam cam coming up at the summit in 2024. That's seems like it's 4 years away, but it could be something that you can start planning for now, especially if you have somebody that's still at the younger age level. So just some future planning will be very helpful. It'll be lifelong experience that'll make lifelong memories.
And I would like to underscore that in reminding something Deanna said earlier, a participant is only of the age to go to a World Scout Jamboree once, because it's 14 to 17 years old, and it's only every 4 years. So unlike a jam cam or a moot where you could pass through the age group twice potentially, a World Scout Jamboree is only available once to a Scout. So if you have younger Scouts or younger Scouts, doing what Armando said and planning ahead and seeing when that opportunity could come about for them is very important, because going to a participant as a World Scout Jamboree is just an incredible life-changing experience.
Okay.
As any international event.
Armando?
Yes.
I'd like to add that to the question about what a Webelos Scout could do and Scouts around SDGs. Let's think about that two-way street. And a Webelos Scout has an incredible opportunity to develop a plan, a program, an activity around SDG, but bring adults into it and educate them too, because it's not broadly known across BSA the extent of engagement of scouting with SDG. So again, two-way street. Let's learn from our youth through their participation and expand that among not only our young adults, but our ancient mariners, of which I will include myself in.
All right, thank you, Kent. Here's another question. It says, if I had to decide between a Scout moot and a U.S. local high adventure base venture crew trip, what factors should we consider? Could you also just speak a little on the Scout moot? We mentioned about moot earlier, but Andy or Megan, maybe you guys would like to take that question. Is it how would they decide, or what would be the, between going to a moot or a high adventure trip for their venturing crew?
¿Por qué no los dos? Which means why not both? I worked at Philmont in 2015 for the first 2 months of the summer, and I spent the last month in Japan at the World Scout Jamboree. Not a typical trajectory, but it is possible. Both opportunities are pivotal. Like I'm wearing my next to my World Scout Jamboree pin, my Philmont staff badge. They're both cornerstones of our program in my view. So it is definitely hard to recommend a choice between the two.
May I say something on that, Armando?
Sure, go ahead, Dave.
The high adventure bases, like Megan says, are the cornerstone of our, I mean, they're the top of the line here in BSA. And our venturing program, the question was asked about a venturing crew, and the venturing program is such that it's over at 21. And I would recommend totally that they go to high adventure bases for sure, because they can go as participants to a moot until they're 25 years old. So that goes back to what someone, I may have been Megan again, saying about rovers. The rover program and other NSOs are 18 to 25. And our program shuts off as far as youth at 21 in venturing. So I agree again, do both, but I would use our high adventure bases as part of our program. And if you happen to age out, you can still go as a participant to a moot anytime. They're a whole lot of fun. So.
Well, and I would want to add that I'm kind of letting the cat out of the bag, but I will anyway, that there is a task force in place with good scouters with depth of international experience, both young and old, currently exploring the possibility of expanding, BSA and opening up some opportunity in the rover age. So stay tuned. We may come into the rest of the world with a rover program.
Good.
All right, thanks. Thank you, Kent. One last question, then we're going to get ready to wrap it up. Says, how can BSA units get started or involved in camping internationally? And we mentioned earlier about going to the Kandersteg International Scout Center in Kandersteg, Switzerland. That's a very doable trip. So it's a perfect opportunity because you're in a beautiful location, and the folks at the International Scout Center are extremely helpful in helping your units get there. We also mentioned the Jamboree on the air and Jamboree on the internet. Those are the largest international events held. And so that's a great way to get your scouting units involved. So there are lots of ways to kind of start that process. You can also look at the Jam Cam coming up at the Bechtel Scouting Reserve. That'd be a tremendous international event that scouts can go to, and it's our kind of in our own backyard, so to speak. So those are some things to think about there. We're getting close to the top of the hour, and we wanted to respect everybody's time, so we wanted to wrap things up. There was a lot of people that went did a lot of work behind the scenes on this. We want to thank everybody. We'd like to thank Mark Bisi for helping us do a lot of the promotions and helping us put together kind of the agenda for what we wanted to talk about. As we mentioned earlier, this was a pretty high level overview. We would certainly love some feedback from everybody that's out there. If there's some specific topics that you would think would be helpful for us to cover in future events. As we mentioned earlier, this was intended to be a week-long conference at Philmont. And so because of the situation with COVID-19, we couldn't all get together at a wonderful location. So we had to kind of pivot and try to do something else. So we hope this was informative to everybody. We hope it was helpful. And if you have some questions, if you can just send them to us, we'll try to answer them as best we can. And give us some feedback and let us know if you think this is helpful and if you'd like to see future events like this. We'll see what we can do in upcoming months. So I'd like to thank everybody. Thank everybody for being on the broadcast tonight. And we do have our session, our Navigate Your Next International Adventure is scheduled for the Philmont Training Center in 2021. So we're just moving everything, as a lot of other scouting events have been kind of postponed a year. This conference we're going to have this year is postponed until 2021. So we hope to see a lot of you there. We hope to get a lot of interest there. So let us know how things went tonight. And if you have any questions or whatever, please let us know. Thank you. And we appreciate everybody's time. Appreciate everybody that was on the panel tonight. Appreciate everybody's input. So thanks, guys. And we'll see you guys along the scouting trail. Bye now.